Hey y'all, welcome back. It is a cold and rainy day here in Central Arkansas, so it's a good day to work inside. So welcome to the kitchen. Tyler's back here cooking something. Deer meat. So anyways, he's going to be cooking deer meat. I am going to be trying my hand at pre-sprouting some ranunculus and anemones. So I thought I'd take you through that process. Disclaimer up front, I may sound like I know what I'm doing, but I really don't. Obviously, I've never done this before. If you've watched my previous videos, if you watched the last one, you saw where Tyler and I were working on getting some low tunnels put up outside to get these, have these guys a protected home throughout the winter, so hopefully we can get some early spring blooms. So everything I've learned about this has come from Florette. If you follow her on Instagram, you know who I'm talking about. She's like the ultimate flower farmer. She knows, seems like everything about flowers. So anyway, she offers some free mini courses here and there, and one of the mini courses she offered was on pre-sprouting ranunculus and anemones. I watched that recently. So everything that I'm going to be doing today is coming from the information that I learned from her. So if you want to know more about this process, I would definitely check her out. She has an Instagram. She has a website that I can link in the description here. She's a really neat lady. She also has a really cool documentary on, I think it's Discovery Plus. You should definitely check that out if you're interested in flower farming. It's really cool. It's very inspiring. So anyways, I'm just going to try my hand at this variety here today. So what I've got is this ranuncula. It's a white aviv or something. I don't know. I've got 500 corms in here. All of my corms and bulbs came from ADR Bulbs. I created a wholesale account and got them a little bit cheaper. Unfortunately, you have to spend a minimum when you do that, so was able to get them cheaper per corm, but had to spend a decent amount of money in order to get them shipped to me. So we're gonna open them up and get started. Just like with everything, well, everything in life, but everything with gardening and farming and whatnot, everybody has their own way of doing things. There are tons of different methods for doing things. I'm finding the same thing with these corms. I've been told that you know, I can't grow them in an outdoor uncovered space. It has to be in a tunnel, but then I turn around and I find somebody that's like, oh no, I've done it for years successfully in your zone, and you know, you'll be fine. Same thing with the pre-sprouting. Some people say it's necessary, some people say it's not necessary, and in fact, I even saw somewhere, I read somewhere that someone tested and said that they did some pre-sprouted and some they did not pre-sprout, and the ones that they did not pre-sprout actually bloomed earlier for them. So I don't know. I think it's just something that you have to test out for yourself. I'm pre-sprouting because that's what Florette said to do, and whatever she says to do is what I'm going to do. So if you've never seen a ranuncula corm, here she is. Oh, let me show you. A little octopus looking thing. It's an ugly little thing, and it's just tiny. And something that Florette mentioned in her video is how fragile they are. So you got to kind of be careful with them because these little arms can break off really easy. And just holding it in my hand, I can tell how easily it will break off. So you definitely want to be careful with them. But you see here how small and kind of dried up it looks. So these guys come to you in kind of this dehydrated state. So what you have to do, and this is a non-negotiable, you have to rehydrate these guys. So this isn't necessarily pre-sprouting, but you get them like this, they're kind of dehydrated and dry and sad. You have to put them in some water for a specified amount of time in order to rehydrate them. At that point, some people go ahead and put them straight into the ground, and then some people go on to pre-sprout them before they go into the ground. I'm gonna pre-sprout, which is an extra step, because Florette said to do it. Again, some people say you leave them in water for 24 hours. Florette said leave it in the water for 3 to 4 hours, so that's what I'm going to do. I do know that if you leave them in the water too long, they will want to rot, and obviously you don't want that. So we're going to go with the 3 to 4 hours. Oh, as I drop it. But yeah, let's get started. Tyler thinks I'm sprouting corn.
I was really excited. I thought you were going to plant corn this year.
It's a corm.
I was really excited.
Okay. So what you need for the rehydrating process, all you need is some sort of big tub or bowl to put water in. You need your corms, obviously. Some people, I've heard a couple of different methods on this as well. Some people say that you have to keep the water aerated, and you can use like a fish tank bubbler and stick it in there and let it bubble to keep the water nice and aerated. Aerated, is that the right word?
Aerated.
Aerated. I don't have one of those, so what I'm going to be doing, and this is, again, what Florette suggested, is to just turn the water on a nice slow stream and just let the water kind of trickle in there over the course of 3 to 4 hours. It's almost filled up. I'm letting the water continue to run. All I'm going to do, I think, is just dump this whole bag in there. Ideally, I would soak, I have this and I have another variety and then also have some anemones. Ideally, I would soak them all at the same time, but I don't want my varieties to get mixed up. So I'm gonna do all one variety in this pot for 3 to 4 hours. And I kind of want to do it like a tester batch to make sure I don't really mess this up. But in the mini course that I watched, if you want to soak all yours together, but you don't want to mix them up, she suggested getting a mesh bag, dumping all one variety in a mesh bag, and then of course like sticking a marker in that bag, and then you can dump it down in the water, and then just doing mesh bags for each variety, and they can all go in the water together. I don't have mesh bags with me, so I'm just going to do this. But little shriveled ranunculus corm, I'm going to stick it in there. I've got the water, I don't know if I mentioned, but I've got the water still running. I'm going to kind of pan you down here. There you go. And the water eventually will just kind of trickle over the edge.
Does the water have to be moving?
Yeah, it's got to stay like aerated.
I was going to say, you put that sous vide in there, turn it all the way down.
But it's got to stay cool.
It won't heat up and turn the heater off.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I may do that.
You can turn it down to 35. You can actually cool it down.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Because I want it to be like 40, 50 degrees.
Yeah.
Probably 50.
You can set it what you want.
That's a good idea.
And you let it cool down.
Yeah. Whoop, there they go. Hopefully I didn't break any. Okay, and they are in there. Yeah, because you know what? I'm afraid that,
That trickle splash it over.
yeah, they may start spilling over the edge. Okay, for now, okay, Tyler had a good idea. Let's see. So I've got my corms in here, you can see, but yeah, you can tell they're gonna want to try to spill over the edge, I feel like. Oh, as I splash the water out. So they're in here, they'll stay in here for 3 to 4 hours, but we have a sous vide. What is it, a sous vide? It's like a water cooker?
Water cooker.
It's like a water cooker. Like I said in previous videos, Tyler does most of the cooking, and he tries to get, I say tries to get kind of fancy. He gets kind of fancy sometimes, but he likes to cook a lot of the meat we eat with a sous vide. So I didn't realize that the sous vide would
I don't know.
cool down.
It'll hold it. I don't know if it'll cool.
Okay,
We'll see.
it just won't heat it. You just don't turn
Right,
the heater
right.
portion on. Okay, so we may do that because it'll keep the water moving and it'll kind of keep it aerated. But right now he just had it on, so it's really hot right now. So we'll let it cool down and we may just go ahead and stick that in there as opposed to letting the water drip. But these guys, let's see, it is 11 o'clock on the dot right now, so I'm going to check them back. I'll probably keep checking them every hour. But they should only stay in here about 3 to 4 hours. By the time they're done, these guys should be about double their size. And then I will check back with y'all when that time comes. It has been roughly 3.5 hours since I started soaking these corms, and they look to be about ready. Honestly, I got to get to the gym to teach class, and I wanted to get these in the potting soil or the potting mix before I had to leave for class. So I was kind of in a time crunch. It's been roughly 3.5 hours. They look pretty ready. I'll show you kind of what they're looking like. There were a few when I dug them out of here that maybe didn't look quite ready, so I may leave some of them in there to continue soaking, but let me show you kind of, and if you can kind of remember, you could go back in the video, I guess, and take a look. Remember what they looked like before, but these guys are a little more plump now, so they're nice and soaked. Okay, so all I'm gonna do, you gotta be real gentle with these guys, because like I said earlier, they are real fragile, these little arms will break off real easy. I've already broken several off, to be honest. But let me kind of pan you down here and show you. I don't know. My kitchen's not too dirty right now. Not too bad. Okay, so I've got these 10-20 trays here, and I just filled them about halfway full with some potting mix. It's like a seed starting mix. It's the same seed starting mix that I like to use for any of my seed starting. I've got the big bag over here. I'll show you in just a minute, but it's called Sun Grow Professional Growing Mix. It's basically just peat moss and perlite. So it's really light, really fluffy, really soft. That is something, just like when you're starting seeds, you want something that's real light and fluffy. That's the same thing when you're doing these, is from what I understand, is you want these to go in a really light mix. But I'm gonna pan you back down here, and I'll show you how I'm gonna do this. I've got 3 trays. I may need more. I don't know. We'll see. You're not gonna be able to see my face here, but you don't need to see my face. I'm just gonna grab them by the handful and spread them out in here. I will tell you, I dropped one little guy. I will tell you that I pre-moistened all of this mix. So I filled the tray about halfway full with a mix, pre-moistened it with a little water, didn't overdo it. I mean, it's just slightly damp. These guys do have a tendency to want to get mushy and rot really easily if they get too much moisture. So you want the mix to be damp, but you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to pick it up and you have water just dripping out. So it is pre-moistened. And then we're just going to spread them out, give them a little bit of space. When you plant them in the ground, the little tentacles will go down, okay, because the roots will come out of here. But according to the little video I watched, you don't necessarily have to put the tentacles down when you're pre-sprouting, because really all you're trying to do here is get some roots going, and then once the roots get going, then you will dig them out and you'll put them in the ground. Okay, then I have a bowl of more pre-moistened soil, or mix, I should say. It's not really soil. And I'm just going to lightly cover. Once I have them nice and spread out like I want them. Okay, and that's it really. So this tray is ready. It takes roughly 10 or so days to get them pre-sprouted. You want to put them in a cool place. If you put them in too warm of a location, they're going to get a little too active. You don't want them to get that active. You want to kind of just get them going. So you want to put them in a nice cool area about 50 to 60 degrees. So what I'm doing, I could probably put them out in my greenhouse, honestly. Let them sit out there because it's so cool right now. But I think what I'm going to do, because we're going to have a couple of nights that are going to dip down into the 20s, and I'm not 100% sure that my greenhouse is set up. I need to get in there and clean everything out and just make sure it's working come, seed starting season. I'm not 100% sure I want to risk putting them out there right now when we're going to have some nights dipping down in the 20s. So what we're going to do is stick them in our closet, our master bedroom closet, because it's actually a safe room. So it is like encased in cinder blocks, so it stays a little cooler than the rest of the house. We turned the vent off in the closet, so when we have the heat going, the heat won't be going into the closet, and we're just going to keep that door shut because it's like a giant metal door, so it just stays cooler in there in general. So it should stay nice and cool in there for these guys to get sprouted. Once they sprout and they start developing roots, I'm not going to show you on this video. I'm going to go ahead and get this video uploaded. I'll show you in a later video, maybe next week or the week after. But once they get going and they get little roots on them, some of them should even develop little green sprouts on them, it's time for them to go in the ground. So that's what we were doing all those hoops for in the last week's video. I'm gonna have frost cover over that because we don't want them to get too cold through the winter. We want them to stay, you know, somewhat cool. But yeah, hopefully come early spring, we'll have plenty of blooms. Hopefully this all wasn't for nothing. We'll see. Only one way to find out, right? So I'm going to get going. I'm going to finish the rest of these. We'll get them in the closet and we'll get them sprouted. And that's it, y'all. We'll see you next time. Bye.